In episode 3, the girls wake up and they're all pretty mortified at what they did, but nobody more so than Thaisa. And that's because Thaisa doesn't remember eating Jackie's body. Van actually has to stop her and say, Thaisa, we did this to her body. You were right next to me. You ate her face. And when Thaisa hears that, she literally throws up right then and there. She's completely disgusted. But the body is pretty picked apart. I mean, the girls did a number on it, and they don't want to look at it. So Natalie suggests, you know what, I'll take the body and put it with the plane. We'll wait until the ground is soft enough to bury her, and then we'll bury her. Natalie packs up what's left of Jackie and heads off. As Natalie treks off into the woods, Lottie walks up to Shauna and says, that's what Jackie would have wanted. I mean, maybe not for the rest of us, but for you and the baby. And Shauna tells her, yeah, but I wanted it too. And that's what's scary to Shauna. She feels so messed up about this. Lottie tries to make her feel better by saying, Shauna, we all ate her. But that doesn't make Shauna feel better at all. And Lottie knows that she has to boost Shauna's spirits somehow, so she decides that all the girls will hold a baby shower. Lottie says aloud that she wants to welcome him. And Shauna's a little puzzled about why Lottie said him, but Lottie doesn't expand on it, just saying, yeah, we'll have a baby shower. This boosts all of the girls' spirits. They all get excited about what they're going to give the new baby. But as they're planning, Natalie reaches the plane and she's giving a little speech to Jackie about what they did, apologizing, thanking her for her ultimate sacrifice. But shortly after she finishes, she hears something outside, and it's a albino moose. She quickly grabs her gun, she starts firing at it, and this moose starts charging at her, knocking into the plane and knocking Natalie back. But when she gets back up, that moose is gone, as if it were just a figment of her imagination. She figures that her mind's just playing tricks on her, and she decides to head back to the cabin. At the cabin, the girls have kind of broken into teams of 2 with creating gifts for the child. And one of those groups is Crystal and Misty. As Crystal and Misty are creating something for the baby, they start hinting at the fact that eating Jackie wasn't terrible. And that's when Crystal admits that it wasn't the first time she's eaten somebody, because apparently she ate her twin in the womb. Yeah, Crystal's a little unhinged, but that's why she works well with Misty. Mari, though, is sitting not too far away, and she keeps hearing a dripping sound. It's really bothering her. But nobody is more bothered than Ben. I mean, he's looking at these girls, and all he can think of is them frothing at the mouth. Since seeing them eat Jackie, he's been pretty despondent. He's been trying to keep to himself and thinking about what life could have been like. Because he had a boyfriend back home, and that boyfriend wanted him to move in, but Ben said no. So he's just picturing what would have happened had he not gotten on that plane, had he said yes to moving in with that guy. So Ben is not going to be partaking in the baby shower the next day. That night, though, when all the girls go to sleep, Thaisa wakes up and she's seemingly taken over by whatever has her sleepwalk, and Van finally wants some answers. Van has been tying her wrist to Thaisa's in order to keep her in the bed so that she doesn't walk off. But Van says, if I let you loose, can I come with? And whatever is controlling Thaisa says yes. They take off into the middle of the woods in the middle of the night, and Van says, well, how do you know where you're going? And Thaisa says, he chose me, the one with no eyes. Van asks, is that who you always follow? And Thaisa says, only when Thaisa lets me. Basically confirming that Thaisa has been taken over by something. Van does ask, hey, if you're not Thaisa, then who are you? But whoever it is doesn't answer. It just leads Van to a tree with the symbol carved in it. And that's when Thaisa snaps out of it, having no idea how she got there. Van lets her know that Thaisa was the one who brought her there, and it's as if she knew that that symbol was carved into the tree. Van asks her, who is the one with no eyes? But Thaisa lies and says, I don't know. They head back to the cabin, and the next day, the girls have the baby shower. They start giving the gifts, and one of the gifts is from Misty. It's a monologue from Steel Magnolia. It's an interesting choice because it's a scene about a dead daughter. But to her credit, Misty crushes it. I mean, she really impresses everybody. The last gift, though, is from Lottie. It's a blanket that she knitted, but it has the symbol on it. And when Natalie sees that symbol, she freaks out. She thinks it's completely inappropriate because, as she reminds everybody, we found that symbol next to a guy's dead corpse. Lottie points out that she thinks the dead guy was using the symbol as protection, but Natalie says, Lottie, he died. And they start arguing over the fact that Natalie doesn't understand what the symbol is. Most of the group, though, sides with Lottie because they just believe that she clearly knows things. They've seen it firsthand. But then they all get distracted because they notice that Shauna is bleeding from the nose. As they start trying to tend to Shauna's nosebleed, they hear something pelting the roof, and when they go outside, they're horrified because it's a slew of dead birds. They have no idea how these birds died. It's as if they just all committed suicide. They're not quite sure what to do, and Lottie says we should gather them as blessings. And one by one, the girls start placing the dead birds at Lottie's feet. Present-day Lottie is still running her cult, and Natalie is still forced to be there. At least she's not chained up in a bed, though. She's able to walk around the grounds as she wishes. There are a bunch of activities that you can do at this commune. And as Natalie is looking over the chart, Lottie walks up and says, you should sign up for one. I mean, the group wants to hear from you. Lottie then shows Natalie the beehives that they have, and she explains that when a new queen is born, the first thing she does is stab all of the other queen bees to death, so she's the last remaining one. But it's not brutal, it's natural. It's what has to be done. Otherwise, they starve. So the queen has to. She then kind of guilt trips Natalie to going to one of these group therapy sessions. And Natalie doesn't want to share, but Lottie calls upon her. She tells her that it's really important that she's present for all of these exercises in order to get the most out of it. Natalie reluctantly stands up, and Lottie asks her, is there anything you want to process in front of the group? And Natalie says no, not at all. And that's when Lottie calls up Lisa, the girl that Natalie stabbed with a fork in the hand. She has Lisa tell the group what she felt when Natalie attacked her. She then hands Lisa a fork and says, if you feel the need to hurt Natalie back, I want you to do it. And it seems like Lisa certainly wants to, but she doesn't. She actually just hugs Natalie, telling her, I forgive you. After the therapy session, Lottie heads out and notices that near all the beehives, there are a ton of dead bees on top. And when she opens up the honeycomb, they're covered in blood. She has no idea what happened. She's pretty beside herself. But she snapped out of it when one of her workers asks, do you want to go to lunch? And when Lottie looks down, the beehive is fine. She was imagining all of it. And imagining things is something that Thais is going through as well. She doesn't really remember how the car accident happened, but she is really concerned for Simone because she's not doing great. And she gets really, really concerned when she notices that on Simone's hand is the symbol. She heads into the bathroom in the hospital, and she looks like hell. On top of it, the person staring back at her is not herself. Thaisa is screaming at who's ever staring at her, tell me what you want. But this fake Thaisa is just kind of covering part of her face while only showing one eye. It's weird. Thaisa runs out, and her campaign leader is waiting for her to let her know that the toxicology report came back and she's got Adderall in her system, but that's nothing. But she cuts her off and just says, I need your car keys, and then calls Jessica Roberts. As for Shauna, her and Jeff have an uncomfortable conversation over breakfast. Jeff is trying to figure out the moment when he became less fun, and he thinks he knows it. Really, he's just trying to process why Shauna would cheat on him, and she tries to explain to him that it's not his fault, but Jeff says, I know it's my fault. I mean, what are you supposed to say? Of course it's my fault. So when they leave, he decides to do something spontaneous and take her to Colonial Williamsburg. On the way there, though, a guy runs out into the street, and Jeff thinks that he hit him, and when they get out to check on him, the guy's trying to carjack him. He's got a gun pointed at Jeff and Shauna, but Shauna knocks into the guy and steals the gun away from him. And that, for whatever reason, causes an argument between Jeff and Shauna because Jeff wants to get the gun away from Shauna, and in the meantime, the guy steals their minivan. Shauna starts saying why the minivan was important, what was in it that they can't get back, but Jeff is concerned that his wife is suddenly turning into Rambo. In order to blow off some steam, Jeff decides afterwards to head to the gym, and he runs into Kevin and confronts him, saying, you really upset my wife the other day. I mean, do you really think Shauna had anything to do with this? And Kevin has to explain the reason why he thinks Shauna had something to do with it. The fact that the investigators found out that she was cheating. Jeff, though, gaslights Kevin completely, acting like he's insane for looking at Shauna, while simultaneously seeming desperate to get Kevin off the scent. Meanwhile, Shauna was going to track down the car. She's able to locate where the minivan went thanks to her GPS, and instead of calling the cops, she takes matters into her own hands, walking into this chop shop and confronting the guy who stole it. At first, the guy tries to just play tough with her, saying that she's not really going to use the gun. But then Shauna starts talking about what it's like to peel the skin off of the human face, and the guy actually gets concerned. When Shauna mentions that she's not shaking because she's scared of using the gun, she's actually shaking because of how badly she does want to use the gun, the guy all but hands the keys over and runs out. So, yeah, Shauna's become Rambo. But Misty's become True Detective. Misty goes to meet with this mystery man who she found out's name is Walter. They meet at a boat, and they're going to pretend to be FBI agents investigating this guy that was staying at the motel. But Misty gets concerned because the guy is Randy, the guy she knew from high school. Misty knows that she can't interview him, so she ends up calling Walter's phone, and he's going to put in an earpiece so that he can get questions from Misty. Randy's too dumb to realize that Walter is not actually a member of the FBI, but they do end up getting some information out of him. Mainly the fact that there were some shady individuals in a van, and they took all the Fanta. And while that doesn't seem like much on the surface, Misty realizes that they can track these people down by looking at the credit card information from the vending machine. Walter has a really good knack of hacking. He does, however, ask Misty, "Why are you downvoting all my Adam Martin posts?" And Misty lies, telling Walter that she's friends with Adam's mother, and Adam had addiction issues. So she downvoted all of his stuff because she didn't want that information getting out into the world and upsetting his mother. Walter says, "Wow, that's really nice of you." And Misty says, "I knew you'd understand because you're trying to get your own mother really good health care." And Walter laughs and tells her, "Oh, Svetlana? No, she's not my mother. She's just some woman I knew who was getting evicted." Misty then questions why in the world Walter would do all of that to meet her. And Walter says, "Maybe I'm just a bored Moriarty looking for a Sherlock." Misty, who is not used to having male admirers, doesn't really know what to say and leaves. But she gets a text message later from Walter that tells her the credit card is from Cherry Corners, New York. And he asks her, "Do you want to go on a road trip?" Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.